are here with our Realcom chairman, Joe Rich and Tom Taddeo. Tom is the Senior VP of Kimco, and Joe, CIO of Tishman Speyer. We're going to talk a little bit about about the conference itself, and also about CIO 3.0. So, Tom, I'm going to start with you. Actually, I'll start with both of you. What's been the most rewarding part? Obviously, taking on the chairmanship of a conference is an enormously big responsibility. I'm sure it had its challenges, but what were some of the rewards? What were some of the most rewarding things that you've experienced being one of the co-chairmen of this conference?
I'll start. I think the ability to really see change. I've been coming to Realcom for almost 15 years now, and seeing the change, having the ability to affect change and work with Howard and Jim, it has been really, really rewarding. And I think this is the best conference I've been to yet.
I mean, this year has been an outstanding year. Everyone is talking about it on the floor. It just feels vibrant and alive. What specifically did you try to do to make sure that that happened?
So, Jerry, we really tried to create a sense of community amongst the CIOs and real estate community, technology community, by the way we organize the tracks, the way we organize the events, and you see this conference, the layout of the conference, the way we've arranged it, even downstairs, you see people, everyone's talking, everyone's networking. So I think that's created a very different vibe than we've had in other years.
And did you know that would happen?
I think it was one of our goals. One of our goals was really to get people continuing to talk about their problems, find solutions to their problems, and look for new types of solutions here. Talk to the vendors, talk to each other. So that was really one of our main objectives here, was to get people talking, keep getting the right environment for that to happen.
If you had to use a word to describe the feeling of this Realcom 2016, perhaps versus others, what would you say is the real theme that has emerged, either in the feeling on the floor or in general in content?
I can't use one word, but I think the change of technology and how it's going to impact real estate in real and dramatic ways, and that it's not years into the future, as we heard at the conference yesterday. Some of this is now. Some of it is years in the future, but a lot of it's really right now. And how do we get that into our industry and into our platforms, and into our applications, and into our culture of our companies? It's really going to be certainly a challenge in the future, but a really, really exciting one.
Well, let's talk about those challenges. What are the challenges that face a CIO today that they didn't have to face 5 years ago?
I think to a large extent it's keeping pace with technology and being able to see what's out in the future, and then how do you apply that back to your own organization. In real estate, it's a slow adoption model to being able to bring on a lot of these new ideas and new technologies. So being able to stay innovative within our own organizations, but also keeping everything running is a delicate balance.
Right.
But this conference specifically, and I think this year, being in San Jose and having that tech vibe about it and that innovation vibe about it, we really tried to bring a lot of the technology, futuristic technologies to the conference to get people thinking about not just 2 years out, but what's 5, what's 10 years out. And maybe some of these technologies won't apply, but we should be thinking about them because there's certainly parts of it we can use in real estate.
Interesting. If you had to stake your bet on one of the things we're looking at today really being a dependable workhorse technology 5 or 10 years in the future, what's your bet on?
And Joe, you probably agree with me, but I think the cloud has significant impact in terms of our operating models, as well as how we connect with not only ourselves as real estate companies, but also our customers. So I think the cloud's going to have a profound impact in terms of what we're able to do and how we're able to enable our workforce.
How about you? What's your most interesting technology?
I would say the most interesting technology that, and the hard thing for me is to try to figure out when, is really going to be machine learning and artificial intelligence, and how that machine learning impacts our businesses, again, and our culture. There's a lot of exciting things that are happening in the space. But the real estate needs large data sets for that to happen. So how that evolves, it's typically in real estate you don't have these large data sets. And there are certain exceptions to that, and that's where it's starting to happen already. For example, in building automation, you're starting to see these large data sets and machine learning already happening there. So it's really exciting.
Tishman, obviously quite a force to be reckoned with, but Where are you heading technologically into the future?
Well, certainly we are this year, we're racing to the cloud. I think everybody is racing to the cloud. I think I saw that headline in the Wall Street Journal in January. From an application perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, we don't want any applications in-house. We're almost to the point where if there's an in-house application, it's almost a non-starter at this point.
Right.
Because we've set up our whole infrastructure, our entire team, to really be cloud-first company.
Okay, so cloud, but that's everyone's doing that. Everyone's going to be doing that. What's out ahead of that?
Well, I think ahead of that, you again start seeing these machine learning, and we start the actual interchange of these cloud providers that we have, and sharing the data and integrating that data and coming up with unique solutions and unique skill sets across the board.
What excites you about getting your company to make these changes? What's personally satisfying about you?
For me personally, again, it's really about making a difference in our operations, in our company, making the company more profitable, better, faster, cheaper, providing great experiences for the people, not only our tenants, but the people that work in our buildings. We have 250,000 people around the world that go into our assets every single day. We want them to have great experiences. And I think technology is really going to impact that change.
How about you at Kimco? What are you looking to really employ?
I think for us, a lot of it is around digitization of our assets. So if you look at our portfolio and the traditional role of IT, a lot of it has been focused back office and enabling our teams. I think for us, it's a shift in a strategy to say, we have a tremendous number of assets. There's ways we can introduce technology, make those assets better, not only for the asset itself, but for our tenants, as well as the shoppers that come to our centers. So this digitization strategy is something that we are very focused on, and it could be, it goes well beyond just enabling Wi-Fi at our centers. You're talking about how do you create better information for our tenants? How do you give them better information about traffic flow and around pedestrian flow? And how do you optimize the tenant mix by using different analytics and data sets by doing that?
Do you find that it causes tenant retention? Do you actually find that tenants have a real tangible appreciation of these changes that you're making for them?
We're in the beginning stages of having these conversations with our tenants, but when we talk to the innovation teams at our tenants, they're looking at it very favorably. They want to know what we're doing. They want to partner with us, and I think that that's a new relationship that's starting to evolve here, is where the landlord, the ones that are taking an interest in technology and making investments in technology at their sites, the tenants are interested in working with us and figuring out how we can share data and how they can operate their assets better, because there is never-ending thirst for information and data from our tenants.
Sure.
So to the extent we can add to that set, those are the kinds of things we're looking to do.
So what I think is interesting is that every business is a technology business. Real estate's not always the first adopter for technology, but we see technology as really an outside factor changing our business fundamentally, certainly in the case of retail. But also on the office and the industrial side as well. We see 3D printing going to change the industrial warehouses dramatically. We don't know how right now, but certainly as the price of those printers drop and the capabilities become greater, that will have an impact on the supply chain.
And if you think about in our asset class, autonomous vehicles are going to have a profound impact in terms of how people get to our centers. We can use our parking lots more strategically. If we've got autonomous vehicles that can park somewhere else, they no longer need to be next to the stores that the shoppers. They can let off the shoppers, and then they can go park themselves down the street and come back when the shoppers are ready. So we think that autonomous vehicles are going to have a huge impact in terms of our site designs, our utilization of our space, and really create opportunities.
Are your companies making concrete management and asset allocation decisions based on 3D printing, autonomous vehicles? I mean, are we just going, well, we're going to have to do something, or are you finding that your companies are actually going, well, wait a second, we really have to look at how we're allocating our resources?
I think we're in the first inning of that ball game.
Yeah.
We're really still looking at the pace of how fast that change is actually going to happen. So autonomous vehicles, we don't know when that's going to become mainstream. sure the technology exists, that Google's doing it all over the streets outside
Sure.
of here today,
Yeah.
right? But we don't know when it'll become more mainstream. So we don't want to react to it. We know it's out there. We're pretty sure it's going to happen, but we just need to get the timing right on all of these technologies.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay, Jerry. So, to Joe's point, when you think about our roles as CIOs, it's looking out in the future, seeing these technologies, how they might impact the business, so you can start having these conversations. I mean, no one's thinking about, if you have a lot of autonomous vehicles, how are they going to be charged? So, do real estate companies become electric companies, or do they start to partner with utility companies? Does it become the fourth or fifth utility at our site? We're already doing charging stations, but if you've got half of your parking lot filled with electric vehicles, they've got to get powered up.
These are great questions,
Right.
and I guess it is your job as the CIO to be that predictive analysis that people need. Are there any other, for the people who are watching at home who couldn't be at the CIO roundtable, which you also organized, give us one or two more words. I'll ask for a brief word. Prediction, yes, is a big part of your job. What else do we need to be doing if we're going to be effective CIOs? What are the other things, watchwords that people need to be thinking about to do the job as efficiently as possible and effectively?
Well, certainly, I think all CIOs need to keep engaging with the business and keep open lines of communication. Certainly, cybersecurity is one we haven't mentioned, but in the CIO roundtable, we had a whole morning talking about it beforehand. It is top of mind of every IT professional around the world. It is not something going away. So that's something everyone should be aware of.
Terrific. Ed?
And I think that just being able to fail and then start again. So don't be afraid to fail fast, try again. I think
Would you agree with that?
I would agree, certainly. What I was going to say is it's not something that's common in the real estate industry. It's very common in the tech industry.
Right.
So we have to marry those two diverging paths. And that's the real job of the CIO.
Tech culture, real estate
Right.
culture, and give everyone the chance to make the discoveries we need to make.
Right. In our roles previously, you couldn't fail. You couldn't put an ERP system in and have it fail.
Right.
You could not close your books. But I think as you start to look at these other technologies, you've got to try them. You have to see what will work, what won't work, and then move on. So,
Terrific. Guys, thank you so much for
Thank you,
organizing a great conference and for sharing your insights with us today. Joe Rich, Tom Taddeo, thank
Jerry,
you very
great to
much
see
for
you
being
again.
on the
Thank
show.
you.
You too.